If tomorrow all the things were gone I worked for all my life.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
It is not the concern of any one race. The victims of the violence are black and white, rich and poor, young and old, famous and unknown. They are most important of all, human beings whom other human beings loved and needed. No one can be certain who next will suffer from some senseless act of bloodshed.
I speak tonight for the dignity of man and the destiny of democracy. I urge every member of both parties, Americans of all religions and of all colors, from every section of this country, to join me in that call.
Despite the Emancipation Proclamation being issued nearly 150 years ago in 1863, African Americans like myself have fought for civil rights. There were three white leaders, John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Lyndon B. Johnson, that accelerated the process of equalization between blacks and whites. Please allow me to take you on a journey to a place where these three men's legacies remain prominent.
Hey there, John. How's my favorite Kennedy?
I'm swell. What can I do you for?
I would really appreciate it if you would tell our viewers a little bit about your part in the civil rights movement.
Surely! Originally, when I entered my office, many believed I would not support civil rights because I did not vote for Eisenhower's Civil Rights Act in 1957. I made this decision to get support for my ticket as president. I quickly made it clear that I planned on lessening the struggles African Americans fight each and every day. In 1963, I stated it ought to be possible, in short, for every American to enjoy the privileges of being American without regard to his race or his color. In short, every American ought to have the right to be treated as he would wish to be treated, as one would wish his children to be treated. But this is not the case. Discrimination stayed in the American name, and I believe that a decent president could end prejudices by using federal power. In fact, in 1960, a report from the Civil Rights Commission released a shocking set of data involving blacks. 57% of African American housing was judged to be unacceptable. African American life expectancy was 7 years less than whites. African American infant mortality was twice as great as whites. African American found it impossible to get mortgages from mortgage lenders. Property values would drop a great deal if an African American family moved into a neighborhood that was not a ghetto. In order to put an end to these numbers, I put a pressure on federal government organizations to employ African Americans. Any who were employed were usually in the lowest paid posts and in jobs that had little prospect for professional progress. The FBI only employed 48 African Americans out of a total of 13,649, and these 48 were nearly all chauffeurs.
Kennedy did more than any president before him to have more African Americans appointed to federal government posts.
I tried to make little gestures here and there too. In American football, the Washington Redskins were the last of the big teams to refuse to sign an African American. Their stadium was federally funded, and I ordered that they were no longer allowed to use the stadium and would have to find a new one. The team then very quickly signed up African American players. I also created the CEO, Commission of Equal Employment Opportunity. Its job was to ensure that all people employed with the federal government had equal employment opportunities. It also required all those firms that had contracts with the federal government to do the same if they were to win further federal contracts. I later appointed my brother, Robert, as Attorney General, which put him at the head of the Justice Department. Our tactic was to use the law courts as a way of enforcing already passed civil rights legislation.
Speaking of old Robbie, let's take a visit to him now.
Hey there, Robbie. How's my favorite Kennedy? Oh, now I'm your favorite Kennedy? I would really appreciate it if you would tell our viewers a little bit about your part in the civil rights movement. Okay. Well, after my brother appointed me as Attorney General, I soon made it clear that civil rights were one of my main concerns. I even said that we will not stand by or be aloof. We will move. I happen to believe that the 1954 Supreme Court school desegregation decision was right. But my belief does not matter. It is the law. So some of you may believe that decision was wrong. It does not matter. It is the law. At another point in time, I was once asked, "What do you see as the big problem ahead for you? Is it crime or internal security?" I simply replied, civil rights. During my tenure as Attorney General, I undertook the most energetic and persistent desegregation of the administration that Capitol Hill had ever experienced. Not to toot my own horn or anything. I even demanded that every area of government begin recruiting realistic levels of black and other ethnic workers. I also made good friends with Martin Luther King. King had publicly thanked me for my commanding of the force dispatched to break up an attack that might otherwise have ended King's life. Another maybe life-saving decision I made was when I sent U.S. Marshals and troops to Oxford, Mississippi to enforce a federal court order admitting the first African-American student, James Meredith, to the University of Mississippi. Riots ensued during the period of Meredith's admittance, which resulted in hundreds of injuries and 2 deaths. Yet I remained adamant concerning the rights of black students to enjoy the benefits of all levels of the educational system. The Office of Civil Rights also hired its first African-American lawyer and began to work cautiously with leaders of the civil rights movement. I saw voting as the key to racial justice and collaborated with President Kennedy and Johnson to create the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964, which helped bring an end to the Jim Crow laws. Let's go see what Lyndon B. Johnson is doing.
Call him president, he's the next new president. He is senator from Illinois. Yeah, his criteria compared to John McCain.
Hey there, Johnson. How are you? I'm super. Can I do anything for you? I'd be delighted if you could tell us a bit about your part in the civil rights movement. I'd love to. Some might ask what I achieved in my political career. I'm commonly known as the person that ended de jure segregation. This, for those who do not know, is segregation imposed by law. It was quite a big deal when this concluded in my time. I also passed the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which essentially transformed Southern politics by giving African Americans the opportunity to vote without fear. Not only did I support that act, but I also passed the 1957 and 1960 acts that gave blacks many more political and economic opportunities. I formally stated at the beginning of my presidency that I wanted to form a great society. I projected the acts that I passed would transform America to immensely improve life for minorities. As a result of my decisions, African American unemployment decreased by an astounding 34%. I once said, "Every device of which human and genuinely is capable has been used to deny right. The Negro citizen may go register only to be told that the day is wrong, or the hour is late, or the official in charge is absent. And if he persists, and if it manages to present himself to the register, he may be disqualified because he did not spell out his middle name, or because he abbreviated a word on the application. And if he manages to fill out an application, he is given the test. The registrar is sole judge of whether he passes the test. He may be asked to recite the entire Constitution or explain the most complex provisions of the law. And I'll let you in on a secret. I mean it."
American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up
and gentlemen, the next President of the United States of America, Barack
Obama, 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 APT. Obama, 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 going in. Call him president, he's the next new president. Here, senator from Illinois. Yeah, his criteria compared to John McCain isn't fair, cause he's BLAC, so the eyes are on E. Through his pencil, he write legislation with the country on his mind, and he don't code ish.